I think there's two teams that we would both acknowledge are going to be a handful in the playoffs. Phoenix, bring back a lot of chemistry from coach to Chris Paul, ascending players. Milwaukee, similarly, coach, culture, ascending players, Giannis. The third team we talk about is Golden State. My pushback would be, and I like him a lot, I get the coach, I get the culture, I get the stars, but there are two things I have to ask you about. One, the size or lack thereof, because as you know, the playoffs get more physical, size matters. And secondly, Klay's not shooting the ball particularly well. So let's address the first. Will size end up being too big a liability to win a championship for the Warriors?
Well, size doesn't matter with the Warriors, right? That's always been the case. I do wonder if this is the year it catches up to him, right? I do wonder if after year of running big guys off the league, of, being too quick and shooting too well, I wonder if okay, this is a lot to ask. The real issue isn't really the playoffs, though. The question I have is, because they're playing small now, what will they have when the playoffs come? Because we've seen this team do this before, but they have 4 or 5 centers to get them through the regular season. Then a playoff come, and it's all right, Draymond's your center. But Draymond hadn't played center all year. So now you get guys like Kevon Looney and Draymond, and the rest is a bunch of small forwards or power forwards. So
right.
What does Kevon Looney have left at the end of the year? What will Draymond have left come playoff time? They're just banking on what they always bank on. It's Steph, it's Klay, it's Draymond, and they're going to make enough shots. They're going to run fast enough, and then in crunch time, they're going to play good enough defense, and they'll win. That's been the bet the whole time. So they're doubling down on it now. It's going to be tougher though, I think.
Klay, listen, we all had a question. What kind of year would it be for Klay? He's shooting 42% from the field and 37% from three. You watch him every game. You see him at practice. Is there another gear this year?
There is. You could see part of his issue is it was almost like Klay's what's my man Chris Evans, Avengers? Captain America. Remember he was in the freezing chamber, right? He's frozen, and he comes back. He's like, "What year is this?" In Klay's mind, it's 2019. He was frozen. So he's still thinking, I got this 20-foot step back. I got the pull up 3 in transition. I hit these shots, but he's going to need some time to get that. So he's not really doing the thing where it's all right, let me work myself back. Let me kind of pace myself. Let me find my spots on the floor, get my rhythm. Klay came back nah, bro, I'm the same guy from 2019. And I think he's having a little clash with that reality that maybe he's not. And there's moments where he is that's kind of egging him on, right? Like against the Lakers, he was that guy. But since then, he hasn't been. So it's just, I think it's all kind of expected for a guy who hasn't been 2.5 years playing. But look, I'll tell you this. If they don't have another year out of Klay Thompson, that's going to be really difficult to overcome. He's too important. They need him to take another gear to get closer to the guy we remember than where he is right now.
It's interesting because I always felt Andrew Wiggins had the personality of a great 3 or a solid 2. I never thought he was a 1. I've said the same thing. Yes. I think Anthony Davis is the best 2 potentially in the league. He doesn't want to be a 1. He doesn't put the time in. He doesn't want that kind of burden. But when Wiggins got there initially, he was viewed kind of as an eventual trade piece. Marcus, when was the moment that you think the brain trust in Golden State said, shit, he's a great 3. Some nights he's the world's best 4. What was the stretch? Because I feel like now he'll be a valuable piece in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think they believed it. I think they were convinced last year when the Warriors went 15-5 down the stretch. He made a lot of big shots. So keep in mind, Steph didn't have much with him, right? Draymond was not an offensive weapon last year by even his own admission. So he was pretty bad if Draymond was like, yo, I sucked. And that was it. No Klay. They were banking on Jordan Poole was a youngster, not really in his prime yet. And it was Steph, and he needed some help, and it was Wiggins. But I do think they always thought it would be him. I don't know how much of it is because of Wiggins or because they like this idea that when you come to the Warriors, you reach another level, right? So it's like, hey man, Wiggins, we saw who you were. Everybody doubted you, but now you with us, right? So we want to show that our system, our culture is different. And he's kind of the poster child for that. So I think they always believe that. I personally had this debate in the locker room with the Warriors owner, Joe Lacob, right? Where he's telling me I'm going to be wrong. I even had to say I was wrong. Like, all right, I didn't think Wiggins would be this good. I just didn't see it. So
right.
I know they've thought this from the beginning. They thought they had a steal. They thought they got a great player. They thought he'd be perfect. But I think it was convincing last year because he played the best ball he'd ever played, and he committed to defense in a way you just didn't see. You're right. So plus they get the one up Minnesota, right? You'd be like, man, it was Minnesota's fault. So now this is like the Warriors version of, remember Suge Knight when he got on the stage and he was like, if you don't want the executive producer all in the video, they come to death row. That's essentially Wiggins is their way of saying that to the rest of the league. You don't like how your career is going? You think you're being underutilized? Come to the Warriors. We will rejuvenate your career. Come play with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and watch your career take off.
Well, it's a little Stafford to the Rams. Dante Fowler.
Yes, absolutely.
OBJ, Matt Stafford. I think Steve Kerr's collaborative. I think Sean McVay is. I think it's the California way. I think that's the way the world, the California economy. We're not authoritarian. It's a more collaborative kind of mission. It's a more tolerant state. And I think the Rams do that. It's interesting with the Warriors because they're real twitchy. I look at the Kevin Durant thing now, and I think, God, he's got to be looking at this thinking, if I was with Golden State right now, I mean, seriously. Now, when you wrote the book KD, and I think we've talked about this, do you think he is the kind of guy that has regret? I mean, do you think he would allow himself to have these moments by himself thinking, man, that team, all that team needs is length? I mean, that team would be, I can, now.
It would be crazy.
So the Jordan Poole pick was the year after he left, so they would have Jordan Poole if he stayed, right?
Yeah, 2018.
They wouldn't have Wiseman. Yeah. They wouldn't have Wiseman.
They wouldn't have Wiggins. I mean, they'd still have Kevin Durant, which is better than whatever they would have had, right? So,
but do you think he looks at that Kyrie-Steph exchange now with any regret?
I don't know. I think KD's still too stubborn to do that, right? I still think he's like, I'm the best in the league, so let me show you why it don't matter. There might be that voice. I think the other voice is louder. The other voice that I'm the best in the game, like the other voice that says, I deserve this, right? Like I'm too nice to be part of this collaborative situation. And I also think he's just tight with Kyrie. Like in the end, KD, I think he likes playing with his friends. He likes the relationships. He likes the off the court stuff too. And Kyrie's his friend. So I can't say what's happening privately. I think it'd be crazy to think he's not thinking, what did I do here? But there is a louder voice that says, I'm the best in the game. And I'm going to show you. I almost showed y'all last year in the playoffs, but I wore a size 18 instead of a 17, right? So you watch what I'm going to do in the playoffs. And if I got anything with me, I'm going to prove to y'all how great I am. To me, I feel like that's the pervasive mindset of KD. It's just, he's going to be great.
Do you think the Ben Simmons thing works?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What better could you put next to KD and Kyrie besides a guy who don't need shots? Right? Like, I mean, here's a guy who's going to play defense, work hard, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove, and he's 6'10". Like, and in the fourth quarter, there is no question where that ball is going. Right? There's no other possible person to say there. You don't have to worry about Ben Simmons saying, "I got this, y'all." He's gonna look to pass, and I do think when they were working, it's because Harden had the ball and he was like a point guard. Remember, Kyrie was like, hey, man, you're the point guard, because Harden's got that in his game where he can just say, look, I'm just going to distribute. That's Ben Simmons, right? And I do feel like that's a better fit because it's better defensively, it's better size, and he's got something to prove. He ain't trying to get out of there like James Harden was. I do think that's a big difference.
See, I think I just worry about all the there's so many moving parts with Brooklyn. I look at Harden to Philadelphia, and I'm like, shit, good locker room, star big, veteran coach. I do wish they would have retained Seth Curry. I think that's
a big blow. That's a big blow.
It really is. But I think Philadelphia is going to work pretty quick. Your thoughts on that?
Yes, I do think so. The only worry I have, I agree 1,000%. Seth Curry, that hurt. Like, that's the part of the deal you kind of got to do it, but it's like, right. Ouch. You know, the best deals hurt both parties, right? So that's one of them situations where that hurts a little bit. The only remaining worry I have is what happens with Tyrese Maxey, because he was kind of flourishing as the point guard, right, as the playmaker. And now he's pretty much got to step aside. One of those dudes have to go off the ball and kind of be like a spot-up-ish type of player. So I'm interested to see how this works. It didn't work that well with Chris Paul and James Harden, and it didn't work that well with James Harden and Kyrie. But Tyrese Maxey isn't a superstar to be able to kind of demand anything out of the situation, right? So James Harden's going to get to do whatever he wants. So what happens to Tyrese Maxey? That's if they figure that out, if Maxey can be good off the ball, if he can be some kind of slasher, if he can knock down open shots, then it's fine. But they're kind of, I mean, they're like ready-baked cookies, man. Like, you put them in the oven, they're going to go just because it's already there. And they have they have the dominant big man. I do think that's a big difference than the dominant guard per se.
How do you look at the Lakers? Listen, the roster's old. The chemistry's average. Westbrook can't play off the ball. AD can't stay healthy. It is a weak front office, man. Like post-Kobe, any problem, they call an ex-Laker. It's the opposite of the Warriors. Like I've been saying this now for a couple of months. The Rams had a parade yesterday. The Lakers are 9th in the West, and there's a story out that they're going to bring the same team back. I would move AD. It sounds crazy. I honestly, Marcus, think the pandemic did them a huge favor. It gave 4 months off to AD. He's never proven he can play in the last 4 years a full season. He got healthy. LeBron, old, got healthy. Like, it's not like the trade didn't work. You got a title. I would move AD and blow the damn thing up. How do you view them going forward?
I think they need another piece that prevents LeBron having to carry this team on his back in February, right? And that's what Westbrook was supposed to be. A guy who'd be like, all right, man, look, I'm not about to go all out right now, right? I'm 37 years old. I'm like, got all these miles on me. You need me in the playoffs. And here he has to be this Herculean figure in the fourth quarter, right? AD goes down now. Now he's pretty much screwed. Like, LeBron can't afford to tweak anything. So I think they need another player who can carry the load. And both Anthony Davis has proven he can't stay healthy, and Russell Westbrook seems to be past the moment where he's carrying teams. So that's the difficult part. How do you get that other player? If you got to do AD to get him, then that player needs to be pretty young, right? You need to be somebody who can carry the ship, because that was the plan. It was supposed to be a torch passing, right? It was supposed to be LeBron pass the torch. Now it's very clear that you cannot pass the torch to Anthony Davis. He's incredible. He's just not reliable. You just can't keep him on the court. So I don't know if I give him up, because like you say, he's the best number 2 player. But then how are you going to get that other figure without giving him up? Like, they don't have anything else to move.
You know, an interesting thing is that, and I've noticed this over the last 20 years in the NBA, the skill's never been greater. The international players are tougher, not just finesse. The domestic players, our players, are more skilled early because they have to be. I do think the culture of basketball, the AAU world, they're all friends now. So it is very hard to find a player. Kobe had this kind of an old school get in your kitchen. You know, like Kawhi, a lot of the great players now are tremendous, but Chris Paul's a leader. Like, he'll get right in your grill. And I don't feel the NBA has a ton of that.
No, that's old school.
No, and Marcus, it's really interesting. So one of the reasons I think Phoenix is going to win the title, and I really do think, I think there's an old school architecture to their roster. They have the classic veteran distributing point guard who barks. The classic scoring guard, too. The wing who can shoot and defend threes. The big that can run the floor or post. I honestly feel like they're they're like the Sonics or something. They're like a late 70s, early 80s team. How does Golden State match up with Phoenix? Because I think their architecture is really old school, and Monty Williams just embraces it. And I think the young players embrace Chris, who can be really a barker.
I think, first off, Phoenix is so perfectly constructed, like just for the reasons you said. They're a machine. They're like a Tesla. They just run. And the unique part about it is DeAndre Ayton isn't trying to shoot threes. Mikal Bridges isn't trying to ISO. Like, everybody plays their role. They do their role, and they're happy doing their role, and they do it every night, and you can count on them. Nobody's trying to do more than what they need. And Booker is like, yo, if you don't stop my mid-range, I will take 1,000 of them things, right? Like, I don't need to do highlights and crossover. I don't need people to fall. It is a very old school construction. Look, first off, you got to wonder if Chris Paul can survive an entire postseason, right? That's their biggest issue. That's number one. Number two, like, can they shoot the ball consistently from three? If you get hot from three, you're gonna give Phoenix some problems, because DeAndre Ayton is great, but if you're trading twos for threes, you got a problem. And Phoenix can shoot the ball, but they can also not shoot the ball. So you got some issues there, but they're so tough, man. They can get a two from anywhere on the court. Yep. If it's Booker, if it's Chris Paul, if it's Ayton, they can get a two from anywhere on the court. And they got big shot hitters like Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, I feel like is the consummate role player. I mean, they are perfectly constructed, and they're hungry. That's the thing. They got to the finals and lost. Like, they are hungry, and it's tough to account for that. I just feel like Steph, Klay, they gotta go crazy from three. They have to go lights out. They're a really good defensive team, so they've got to turn Devin Booker into something inefficient. They got to make Chris Paul, like, tire him out, make him defend all over the court, run off a million screen. Like, there's a blueprint to it. It's just gonna be tough, man. Phoenix is a machine.
There are a couple of teams I don't buy. I think Chicago is your classic.
Ouch! Come on, can we just bask in the heartfelt story that is DeMar DeRozan? Can you wait a month before?
His story is great, but they've got DeMar DeRozan, who's an A, and they've got a lot of guys who are abandoned and have something to prove, who are B to B plus players. And I do think
a few C's.
And I think those kind of teams hit a wall second round. Like, I think their story is great. They don't have a second A. It's a lot of Alex Caruso's, although he's hurt. It's a lot of guys, Lonzo Ball. Oh, fuck you. You abandoned me. Oh, I can play. And they can. But I feel like that's the one team the media's kind of putting their arms around. I just feel there's a ceiling with Chicago.
But why we can't just dream? Why we can't have Chicago back at the top? Well, we don't need realism right now. We need a little bit of fantastical joy. And that's what DeMar DeRozan brings. Will they lose in the second round? Probably. But we don't have to think that way. We can think that Vucevic is going to finally play defense. That's what we could think. We could think that Alex Caruso is going to lock up on the perimeter and take away some of these great guards in the East. And then we could also kind of think that Brooklyn and Philly might fall apart and pave a perfect way. I do think that's part of the hope, right? Some of these teams up top will pave a way. I mean, their destiny is to run into Milwaukee, Philly, or Brooklyn and lose, right? That's right. That's how this is shaping up. But I'm a 90s baby. I grew up with the Bulls intro song and the red jerseys, you know what I'm saying, and the pinstripe. We get that back for a moment. Can we just have that back? When's the last time we had that? Derrick Rose? And now you want to take it from us because you want to be for real? No. We're it's 90s nostalgia. It's Super Bowl. We were listening to Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and now we're rolling with Chicago. We getting our Bulls hats and our baggy shorts, and we're rocking with the Bulls intro song. Give us that, Colin. Jeez.
Are you surprised? I watched the Knicks the other night. It's so funny. I mean, I like Julius Randle, but this was the most inevitable conclusion. It was so obvious. There's a
guy I would have moved right there. I would have sold high on him.
Well, it's funny because the reason he was hard to move, because it was the first time since the Jeremy Lin month that you gave – I understand the Knicks. I'm like, well, I get it. Like, the city was really – I mean, the Jets and the Giants stink. The city was – the Mets were a joke. The Yankees underachieved. And you're sitting there thinking, shit, we get the city back. Like, I get it, right? But we all knew, if you know, when you watch him play now, he shoots a lot more threes. The dirty work's not nearly as fun now that I got the bag.
And you know a Tibbs team eventually is gonna burn out, right? It's like a wick of a candle. Eventually it's gonna get to the end. I feel like this is faster than normal, right? I feel like it would have been next year, but now they just look wiped. They look whooped. You can see it. Julius Randle, when he played the Warriors and they put like they had the rookie Jonathan Kuminga on him, and he turned into Shaq, right? Like he looked livened again. He's like, what is this? One-on-one coverage against a dude. I can just put my shoulder in his chest. He looked like the old Julius Randle. Man, that's tough every night. That's tough. And then you got that in the back of your mind, what happened in the playoffs when they were like completely outclassed by a team, by the way, that's like towards the back half, right? That did
right.
Atlanta is not the Atlanta Hawks we suspect. So you've got that kind of running down the back of your mind. Like, I just think they're tired, man. That he's playing 37 and something minutes a night. Like, this is what Tibbs does. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, no, I mean, Daryl Morey told me this week, he said, listen, you just don't understand unless you go to NBA games and sit by the floor what it's like 5 feet to the rim. Yeah. It is a wrestling match. So you add on that to Tibbs's practices, and like there's a timeline. Yeah, man, there's a timeline to how much people want to get banged on. And it is funny because when Tibbs got hired, I thought, oh, God, I've seen this story before. He energizes, they overachieve, and then in the end, there's a lot of travel. It's a hard league, and they don't have enough scorers. So, I mean, I
shorter off season, right? Remember, all that is a factor.
Yeah, but there is part of me that understands that the city of New York right now has so many bad teams, and there was a moment last year you're like, shit, for the first time, maybe the second time counting Jeremy Lin in 15 years, the city's into the Knicks. I get it.
And I was there the last time. I was there. I was like an intern at Newsday when the Sprewell, Larry Johnson Knicks was kicking, right? That was a long time ago. How do you not look? We had it out here. Remember, We Believe? It was like, I mean, they won a series and they burned out against Utah in the second round, but they had the Bay Area lit. Like,
right.
It makes sense. It was exciting to see Knicks fans excited.
Yes,
right?
that no question.
That was the great part. But all it did, Colin, was set Knicks fans up to be ridiculed again. And was that worth it? Was that one time worth it for the rest of the league to say, you thought you were good?
But I think Knicks fans knew it. Listen,
they knew it.
They knew it. Like it's not hard to figure out when your 1 is probably a 3.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody knew, but there's an argument to be made that for the momentum of the franchise and for a bat signal to the rest of the league, we play hard. We don't think Julius Randle's probably worth this, but we're going to take care of our guy. That's a bat signal that I think that has power in the league to other players.
Especially after they got spurned so majorly by KD and Kyrie, right? And that wasn't a good sign, by the way. KD going to Twitter talking about it sounded like Barclays, but the idea that if you're a free agent in the NBA and you're looking at the Knicks and you saw what happened in the playoffs, you're like, yo, I could be the man if I get him there.
Yep.
Like, are you serious? You see what they did for Julius Randle and RJ Barrett? Like, I could be the man if I get there. You know who's really thinking that probably? I bet Zion Williamson was looking at that. Like, yo, I can be the man if you get me there.
By the way, I understood taking Zion over John Morant because here's my theory. Iverson, John Wall, Westbrook, John Morant, Steph Marbury, no titles. Bigs, Steph Curry got one without a big.
Yeah.
But in the last 20 years, Duncan's got 4, Shaq's got 3, Gasol, even Kobe needed bigs. Like, I got it. Like, I was one of these. I got a lot of stuff with Zion. But I also said his torque, his power, his weight is an issue. Do you classify, is Zion a bust if you consider everything from the family to this health to the injuries in your space in this league? Do people think bust?
No, I think you've seen too much of the potential, right? It's hard to tell these days how much of this is like actual and how much of it is I don't want to play for New Orleans anymore, right? Like you just don't know these days. But when you saw him and he's shooting 67% from the field,
I know it was like
right?
Wilt.
Yes, it's like if you just get him on the court, and he don't even know how to play basketball yet. So I think it's too early, and we're starting to see these things in the league where maybe a guy 5 years later figure it out and he gets to say, "You guys wrote me off." I think so. There's a bit of hesitant. I mean, you look at Andrew Wiggins as one of them, right? Where
that's right.
Like he's an all-star starter now.
Well, Julius Randle a little bit.
Julius Randle, yeah. So I think there's far more patience, but it's tough. It does feel a little Greg Oden, KD, right? Ja and Zion, where it's like you gotta go big. Like it's a big league, you gotta go big. But man, that perimeter dude looks really good. And so now you're seeing Ja look like an MVP candidate. We ain't seen Zion since before the pandemic. So it's tough. I don't think it's bust label yet. I think we just need to know what the injury status is and when he's coming back. But I don't know a player that will rush back to New Orleans. Like I don't know.
Is it the worst culture in the league?
Trade.
Do you think it's the worst culture in the league?
I think the management is I think the ownership and management. I mean, first off, like the Saints are the priority of the franchise, of the ownership, right? Like that's a tough pill to swallow. Like, it's the most lit New Orleans is Mardi Gras, it's Saints games and LSU games, right? So I think it's just tough. But I do think the team is pretty good, and I do think Pelicans fans are pretty good. Like I've been to playoff games there. Like they ride with their team. So I do think they have some issues with the fact that the Saints owner owns the Pelicans, and it's very clear what the priority is, right? And it's tough to kind of put everything behind your Pelicans guy. So we've seen Anthony Davis leave, and we're seeing Zion, or we're not seeing him in New Orleans, right? So there's got to be something behind the scenes. But I do think they're a really good young team, and they're really engaged. And when they're good, the place is great. And maybe it's just, I like going to New Orleans, so I'm hoping the Pelicans are good again.
All right, Marcus Thompson touched all the bases. 3 books. Golden, story about Steph Curry. KD, great book. And Dynasties, the top 10 GOAT teams that changed the NBA forever. He is Marcus Thompson, Bay Area, for The Athletic, one of my favorite guys. And I love having you, man. Now, you're standing for this thing. I am worried about your back.
I stand for Colin. You know what I'm saying? Any other play? I'm having a seat. But for Colin Cowherd, we out here. We standing up, man. We in it. Energy. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready. Let's go.
I really appreciate that. Thank
you. That's dedication right there. Look at that. I'm on 2 feet. That's funny.
It's the kind of guy you are.
I'm a stand-up gentleman. Yes, sir.
That's right. Boom. And we close with that. Thanks, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's Colin Cowherd, your affable host. I don't ask for much, really. That little box over there, subscribe box, push that. Subscribe to the YouTube page of The Volume Sports. Now, there will be a brief electrical shock after you do it. But hey, we're all in this together, right?